Hey guys, Tom Kelly from bsafe Lawns here. Hey, this is a recorded version of the webinar that we did yesterday called Organically Grow Your Landscape Business to $1 million. And it was a really, really good webinar. So if you weren't able to be there, hopefully you'll be able to watch this version of it. We introduce ways you can grow your business, obviously by implementing an alternative and organic lawn care program, but we talk about marketing, we talk about operations and lots of cool stuff. So if you weren't able to see it yesterday, here it is.
The lawn care industry is changing. Increased awareness of chemical fertilizers and pesticides as they relate to health and the environment have consumers wanting a safe option. But we all know that being green simply isn't always enough. Your business needs to be successful too. Good afternoon, guys. My name is Tom Kelly. We're going to start the webinar right now. Thanks for joining me today. We've got a really big crowd, which is a good thing. And I know that as we get closer to the end of the year here, a lot of you guys have kind of begun to finish up what you set out to do at the beginning of the year. And as always, it's been a challenge. And I'm appreciative that you could spend some time with me today. We've got a really big crowd. As I said before I started the webinar, we had almost or just over 100 people register for the webinar, and we're there are people continuing to jump on as we go here, a little bit more than 50, and that's pretty good. So by way of housekeeping here, when we do have such a big group, we obviously have the call muted. You can't talk to me. I can unmute you one at a time, but even then, when there is that big of a group, it gets kind of tricky. So typically what I'd like you to do is ask questions as we go by typing them into the chat, the question panel console on the GoToMeeting thing you see up on your screen, and I will either answer them as we go, or I'll stop a couple times throughout the course of the webinar and review them. But at the very least, at the conclusion of today's webinar, we'll spend some time going over as many of the questions that you guys have. Typically, we'd like to keep this to be about 45 minutes long in regards to content, but if we want to spend 90 minutes here answering questions and having a discussion, that's perfectly fine too. So I'd like to introduce myself. I know I see a lot of familiar names on the list of people who are attending right now, but I also see a lot of people I've never heard of before, and perhaps some of you haven't heard of me. I've got a long history in the lawn care business. I've been at it my entire adult life. I work for a company called Barefoot Grass Lawn Service, which many of you probably remember as being a big nationally known corporate chemical lawn care provider, one of the pioneers and sort of founders of the industry. They did very well back in the 80s and 90s. I worked for Barefoot from 1993 to 1996. I literally started as an aerator. Right after I got out of school in the fall of 1993, the spring of 1993. I started in the summer of 1993, aerating lawns, and that was a lot of fun. You guys know that. In 1996, Barefoot was sold to True Green, and at that point, a partner and I, or two partners and I, started a company called Lawn Dog in southern New Hampshire. We opened up literally with 0 customers. We bought 2 trucks, had 2 spreaders, and we had a sales campaign kickoff. And we were able to grow Lawn Dog very quickly and almost kind of caught lightning in a bottle. We managed to grow Lawn Dog to more than 20,000 residential clients all over the Northeast. And we did very, very well. We opened up multiple branches, and we did very well. We sold Lawn Dog in 2009 to a private equity firm. Lawn Dog still exists today, and they're doing very well. They're continuing to grow and expand throughout the region. After I left Lawn Dog, I had started a company called Firebelly Organics. And what Firebelly was, and some of you probably heard of that, was an organic attempt to try to simplify lawn care for the consumer. So sometime around 2007 at Lawn Dog, you guys who've been in the business for a while remember when fertilizer prices really spiked. fertilizer prices and urea in one season, nearly tripled. And we went out and tried to find different ways to fertilize lawns. We started using biosolids, and the use of biosolids led to a couple of things. One, it began to build organic matter in a soil, but it also made us begin to change our messaging at Lawn Dog in terms of the way we presented ourselves. We became or began to present ourselves as more of an organic business, and that really wasn't the case, because all we were doing was using biosolids, which in most cases is not an organic option. And I kind of disagreed with our approach there. But the side effect was I began to really study soil and alternative ways to make grass look nice, to simplify it. And as a result, I launched a program I called it the Organic Lawn in a Box for consumers, for Fire Valley Organics. It did very well. We still sell it today. In 2011, I partnered with a company called Natural Technologies, and we began to build the bsafe Organic Lawn Care Network, which was based on products that I had developed over the previous 5 or 6 years, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And that's really what I focus on now, is running the bsafe Organic Lawn Care Network. I'm currently the CEO of Natural Technologies. I am the director of the Organic Lawn Care Institute here in New Hampshire, which is a state-certified school of higher education, post-secondary school. I was the developer of MyLawnQuote.com, and last summer I was named an industry disruptor by Entrepreneur Magazine, and that's kind of where I want to start, because we're going to talk about a lot of things today, but this really ties into the main message here. And what Entrepreneur does, everybody knows Entrepreneur Magazine. I mean, obviously, you guys are all familiar with it. And annually, they do an issue that names about 5 or 6 what they call disruptors. And I'm going to read directly from this, because it's going to set the baseline for what we're going to talk about today. The Entrepreneur issue that came out last summer starts with, disruption isn't cool. Historically, disruptive ideas and companies haven't been those behind the groundbreaking technologies or products. For example, the cool stuff. Disruptors aren't usually first to market with a new invention. They are, however, visionaries who grasp how an existing idea can be made better or cheaper or accessible to millions. History's littered with examples. Ford's assembly line and stripped-down Model T brought cars to every man. Steve Jobs took the computer mouse at the time, a custom-built and expensive gadget, and had someone figure out how to make it for less than a quarter of the cost. Amazon.com didn't create online shopping, but it did bring millions of products to one storefront and deliver a better price. The same goes for our disruptors here. They saw opportunities ignored by existing players in their fields to get in, grow big, and change the game. And that's what we're trying to do here, and that's what I like to talk to you guys about, and how you can kind of harness some of the same thinking and grow your business to be successful. But what we're going to talk about today, this is basically a description of what you guys all signed up for, how to organically grow your landscape business to $1 million. Now, some of you guys are probably already doing $1 million. And I'd like you to think about this on how you can grow it to $2 million, or if you're doing $2 million to $3 million. And perhaps you can pick up a few things along the way. If you're just starting out, setting a goal to get to $1 million might sound kind of crazy, but if you really kind of plan out, put together a long-term vision, you can make it happen. So a couple things we're going to talk about is how it's a business, not a hobby. When you run your business, you have to run it as if it is a business. It's not something that you just do for fun. And sometimes we run into people, especially in the landscape industry, who don't take it seriously enough. And I'm telling you right now, if you do take it seriously, you'll be able to do very well. Where's my next job coming from? Well, that's all about marketing. And marketing is really the most important part of growing a business when you're in growth mode. And that sounds really sort of simple, but sometimes we struggle in implementing a strategy that makes it happen. Then we'll kind of segue to this. Green is the new green. And we'll talk about how incorporating some of our philosophy at bsafe into what you do can help you grow your business and get to that $1 million mark, and then get recognized. And that is also going to be about how branding and certain initiatives are going to be able to help you along the way. So how are we going to get to $1 million? I'm going to tell you right now, it's not easy. It's absolutely not easy, but it's doable. It certainly is doable, and with a little bit of planning, you can make it happen. So what I did is I put together a 5-year plan here, and I'm not going to spend 45 minutes going over every single aspect to growing your business to $1 million, but I wanted to prove to you that it was possible. So what I did, and some of you guys who are familiar with me and have been on some of our webinars in the past, or some of you who are actually members of the bsafe network, have seen this particular table 100 times. I'm a firm believer in planning. A lot of guys will hear me use the words analyze, plan, implement, adjust. That's a phrase that I live by. Analyze. Well, you've analyzed something because you're here. You see some value in the lawn and landscape business. You see some value in an alternative strategy and perhaps organic lawn care. The planning part is what this is all about. The implementation part we'll talk about too, and then the adjusting part is up to you. So let's just say that we're starting from scratch here. This table is basically going to spell out the revenue opportunity from year 1 through year 5 to get you to $1 million. And there's a lot of questions coming in already. I'm not going to answer them right now, but I don't want you to stop asking them. If I don't answer your question, that doesn't mean I'm ignoring you. It means that I'm either going to answer it a little bit later on in the presentation, or I want to save it to the end. So let's say we're beginning with 0 customers. We always want to budget a certain number of cancels based on the number of sales and customers that we have. So we're going to say we're going to make 482 sales in year 1. Now, that's definitely tricky. There's no doubt about it. It requires some investment. It requires some skill and some opportunity and some good planning and everything else. We'll talk about that. But if you're going to start and you're going to have one truck, if you want to launch a business, you're going to need to have at least this many customers to sustain it. So if you're going to go out there and treat 15 lawns, I wouldn't expect to be profitable or make any money. If you want a freestanding business opportunity, one truck in lawn care can typically treat about 500 customers in a regular 6-app program over the course of the whole year. So beginning in March or April and following all the way through the end of the year in October, November, December. If you're in the South, it starts a little earlier and goes a little bit longer. Sometimes you may do 7 or 8. But typically I speak in transition or cool season turf grass zones, and we're going to do 6 applications over the course of the year. One truck can handle 500 customers. If you make 482 sales, you better plan on 32 of them canceling. We're going to say 7% of your customers are going to cancel over the course of the year. They die, they move, they're mad at you, they have crabgrass, they have weeds, they don't like the color. It's difficult to keep every one of your customers happy. You're going to finish the year at 450 customers. I use $432 as my revenue per customer. If you're going to run an organic lawn care program or a premium lawn care program, you're going to charge a little bit more than what the big guys are charging. I certainly wouldn't recommend being so expensive that you price yourself out of the market, but my revenue per customer is those 6 applications spread out over the course of the year. So it depends on the average size of your lawn, what part of the country you're in, if you're in the city, if you're in the country, lots of things, but $432 revenue per customer is kind of a baseline I'm going to use here. $432 times 450 customers equals $194,000 in round revenue. I'm going to be a little bit long-winded in explaining year 1 here, so bear with me. When I go to rounds 2 through 5, I'll go a little faster. You're going to sell optional services. Now, we always run a balance between agronomics and business. You don't ever want to sell something to somebody they don't need, but you want to sell things to somebody to your customers to grow your business. You're going to want to offer upsells or optional services that aren't included in your regular application process, your regular rounds. Spring aeration is one. I always say don't get too carried away here. You don't want to diversify completely out of control where you've got so many moving parts you don't know what you're doing. And I always speak in the confines of a fertilization program here. If you do maintenance or construction or irrigation or something else, you're already dealing with a lot of moving parts, but what I'm talking about here is your lawn care program. Spring aeration, these percents that you see here on the side are based on my own historical data. I know that I always judge what I'm going to budget for these optionals off of what I'm doing for round revenue. Less than 1%. If I multiplied less than 1% times round revenue, that's what my goal is going to be for aeration in the springtime. So it's not a lot. You don't want to do a lot of aerating in the springtime because you got too much other stuff going on. AFT stands for ant, flea, and tick control. Grub control is going to be one of your biggest services. When you're doing $194,000 in round revenue, you're going to do about $25,000 in preventative grub control. This is a service that people need. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of paranoia about grubs, and you want to make sure that you make your customers feel good. Limestone, you always want to take a pH reading of your customers' lawns during the first application. And again, I'm talking about in a market here where soil pH is typically low and soil is acidic. If it's the opposite, you'd use a different product. You do about almost $8,000 in limestone. Aeration and aeration with seeding are going to be big ticket items for you, and you're going to upsell quite a bit of that over the course of the year. So from April or March and April through October, November, and sometimes even into December, you'll do $58,000 in optional sales to give you a total of gross sales of $252,000. That's a business, guys. That is what one truck can do. You will make money. You'll pay yourself a salary, but it's a startup. That's it's some big aspirations, but you can do it. And we'll talk about how you can make it happen a little bit later on. Ready to go to year two? Again, there's quite a few questions popping up. Some about equipment, some about products, some about operational stuff. I'm going to hold off. Round year two, here we go. We're going to start the year with 450 customers. In fact, I'm going to move this my question thing right out of the way here. You can't see it, but start the year with 450 customers. You're going to start to take more cancels as you grow a little bit. Again, people move, people die, people get mad at you, people switch, people get lowballed from your competition. You're always going to want to budget your cancellation rate based on exactly what it was the previous year. You never want to budget your cancellation rate based on how you think you're going to do. You always want to budget your cancellation rate based on what has happened already. So I'm going to use 15% here, and I'm going to use 15% through the rest of the next couple of years. But if you're only canceling customers at 10%, use 10%. You'd have to make fewer sales to get to where you need to be. If you're having a tough year and you're up at 18, 20%, budget that, because you don't want to budget a certain number and then go over it and your numbers get all messed up. So I'm going to use 15% along the way here, but always budget using historical data. I'm going to ratchet down my number of sales a little bit. I'm going to relax. We're going to make 400 sales year two. It's going to give us a customer count of 703 customers. Our revenue per customer is $432 again. That's going to give us a round revenue of $312,000. We're growing, kids. Here's our optionals, our upsells. We're going to use the same exact formula we used year one. Again, what you want to do here, though, is use your exact historical data. Do the math based on what happened the previous year and budget that for the next year. Every single time, with every single number, you always do. One of the best things about the lawn care model is it's totally predictable. And what that means is what happens this year is going to happen next year. And then that's going to happen the year after. It's very, very predictable from operations and sales to cash flow and everything else. It's a math equation. So we run through these numbers, and we are at $406,000, kids. We're running a business here. Year three, same thing. We start with 723 customers. Now we're going to take 168 cancels, 15%. We're going to make 400 sales. We've got almost 1,000 customers now. We're doing $412,000 in round revenue. Translates to $124,000 in optionals, and we're over $500,000. At the conclusion of year three, we're doing $536,000 in gross sales. Year four, starting at 955. Now we're taking 233 cancels. We're going to budget 600 sales this year, and I'll tell you why real quick. One of the best sources for sales once you get going is going to be customers who've canceled your service in previous years and customers who've previously taken an estimate and decided to not go with you. So the sales start to get a little bit easier when you've got some data. Now we've got 1,322 customers, translates to 571, optional sales of 171. We're doing gross sales of $743,000 in year 4. Here it is, year 5. We're starting with 1,322 customers. We're taking quite a few cancels. We're going to make 800 sales because we've got a big old list of people to sell to. We've got some name recognition. We know what we're doing. We've got some referrals that are really cranking up. We're now doing 1,800 customers at $432 a piece. There's your optional services translating, and after 5 years, you've done $1 million. We just grew $1 million company in about, what, 7 minutes. Sure looks easy, doesn't it? It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of management. It takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of brains. It takes a lot of risk-taking. It's not easy. It's not impossible. And I think that if you focus on trying to get something like this done, you can absolutely do it. There are companies doing it all the time. You've just got to make sure you're doing some things appropriately. So how do we implement something like this? How do we go from 0 to $1 million in 5 years? I like to use this phrase here. I've started to use it a little bit more with our companies within the network. And it's something I just read not long ago. I think I saw it. It's a Woody Allen quote. And it kind of applies to a lot of the things that we do around here. 80% of success is just showing up. 80% of success is just showing up. Just do it. As long as you build a plan, implementing the plan sometimes seems like it's simple, but so many of us just fall short of that. As long as you show up, as long as you put together your plan and you execute your plan, if you just do it, 80% of the time you're going to be successful. If you're really, really good at it, the other 20% is going to come naturally. So a couple of things going on here. There are some things that we're going to expect to just happen. There are some givens. Ease of use for your customer. You need to build a business that's easy for your customers to be customers of. Things like you got to always answer the phone, always return messages. Make sure you're billing your customers. I talk to people sometimes and they say, yeah, I haven't billed anybody this month. So all right, so how are you going to collect the money if you don't bill them? Be friendly. Keep your guys in uniform, things like that. These are no-brainers, but sometimes we slip on them. Make it easy for your customers to want to be customers. You have to be able to run a proper business, and that's not for everybody. This is a given, though, if you're going to get to $1 million. Make sure that you have a good lawyer. You have a good accountant. You have to be able to manage your cash flow appropriately, okay? Don't carry around cash in your pocket. I always say if you're going to go to the bar during a snowstorm, sit next to the plow guy because he's got a ton of cash in his pocket. Anybody know what I'm talking about there? You got to manage your cash appropriately, and if you need an accountant or a bookkeeper to help you do that, use one. I always say if the sink is leaking, call the plumber. Don't try to do it yourself. Make sure you pay yourself a salary. Don't just take a draw. Give yourself a weekly paycheck. Make sure that your human resources are okay. Use a CRM. What a CRM is it's an operational platform, and so many of you guys are still working on QuickBooks and Excel. I don't know how you do it. If you need to schedule work and run your finances, run a marketing campaign, you need a good program. We work with a company called Service Autopilot that has a really, really good and affordable program for that. So here are the things we're going to talk about here: the sales campaign, the renewal, and a renewal campaign. The third part of running that business is a production campaign, but we're going to talk about that another time. Getting the work done is a different story altogether. How are we going to make the sales? How are we going to renew the customers to get to that $1 million mark? Let's talk about the sales campaign for a minute. And again, I've got quite a few questions here, and I know you keep typing them in, and I'm not ignoring you, but I want you to continue to keep typing them in. Most of them I'm going to answer along the way, and I'm going to open it up at the end, but don't stop typing them just because I'm not answering them. Implementing a structured sales campaign that revolves around a solid plan and a solid sales process that you never deviate from is key. The systems that revolve around your sales process must never be deviated from. You need to implement a strategy, and you need to stick to that strategy every day of your life. You need sales processes that obviously you modify and you adjust, but you can't drop the ball. You always need to be making sales. This revolves around a couple of things. One, a marketing universe that's comprised of fresh data. That's your list. Two, a campaign that revolves around multiple sources, not just referrals. And three, a system that makes sales, not simply generates leads. And we'll talk about the broken water heater analogy here. We don't want to just generate a whole bunch of leads. We want to make sales. So let's talk about your marketing universe. How many of you guys have an actual list? How many of you guys know what a marketing universe actually is? Well, the companies that are the most successful, the big companies, spend as much time thinking and talking about marketing as they do thinking and talking about performing the production. And the first step to doing that is to have an actual list. You need what we call a marketing universe. So within your service area, it should include all of the single-family dwelling units that you feel could potentially be customers, and that should be based on income and home value. Those are the two things. Many list companies will try to whittle it down and talk about buying habits and trends and, divorced and how many kids and all that. We know for a fact that if you are a homeowner and your home is of a certain value, you have a lawn. And most of the time, if you have a lawn, you do something to the lawn, especially if it's of a certain value, if the home is of a certain value and you make a certain amount of money. It's a pretty good demographic. Houses with lawns are your customers. Not people who rent houses, not people who live in condos, not people who live in houses that aren't worth $50,000. It depends on what part of the country that you're in, but based on home value and family income, you need to determine who you're going to sell your product to, who you're going to sell your program to. And I'm not just talking about today or tomorrow, this spring, this summer, this fall, this year, forever. And you need to consistently update that. It's going to be worth it because over the course of time, you're going to build a lot of good information that's going to help you make sales easier. What are our multiple lead sources, guys? How many guys only make sales based on referrals? Lots of people. So we need to put together a plan that revolves around many different lead sources. If you're going to make 500 sales in a year, they're going to come from a lot of different places. Here's a list that I took off an old sales report from a couple years ago at Lawn Dog. I took a couple out because some of them don't count anymore, like telemarketing. We're not going to go to telemarketing. But things like referrals, you always need to have a referral campaign, always. Not only referrals, but always be asking your present customers to give you more customers. Reinstate, that's a fancy way to say cancel. People who've canceled the previous year, a lot of times don't really mean to cancel. A lot of times they just want to kind of hold off. They want to skip a couple treatments. They're not canceling because they're angry at you. They just want to stop service for a little while. They tend to sign back up pretty good. Pre-qual is a fancy way to say reject. Somebody who took an estimate 2 years ago and said no is a prime candidate to say yes 2 years in the future. Direct mail is a tried and true lead source for lawn care, and it's kind of coming back now, I think, too, with the way that for the last couple of years we've put so much emphasis on electronic, social media, all those kind of different sort of lead generation techniques. Direct mail has kind of been there all along, and you're going to get a great response from that. Cancel and reject mailing, we found if you just send a proposal through the mail to somebody who once canceled, 1% of them are going to come back as a sale without even doing anything. There are things like door knocking. You always want a source code for people who've seen your truck. Every time the phone rings and somebody wants an estimate, you need to ask them how they've heard of you. A lot of times they're going to say, yeah, I saw your truck in my neighborhood. Working with other landscape companies, AdWords or pay-per-click. Local search local internet searches, and I'm not talking about paid search. I'm talking about like Google Places or Google Local, where it's kind of replaced the yellow pages. Telemarketing I actually have on there with an NA next to it. Home shows, not a big fan of home shows. You're going to cover a large service area. Sometimes you're going to get estimates to places that you don't work. Driveway packet is an interesting lead source that a lot of companies have tried. Is you just drive up and down the street and throw some information in people's driveway. You laugh, but it works. It's basically sort of telemarketing in person. New homeowner lists. Print ads I don't like anymore. Print ads I don't think give you the proper ROI. Things like Home Advisor, sponsorship, email blasting, event marketing. If you can put together some sort of an event that you invite people to. We've got companies doing farmers markets, things like that. Radio, flyering, which is door hanging, television, other. There are lots of different ways to build a marketing campaign, and these are some of the sources that you're going to put together to make it happen. There's also a given along the way. A couple of things that you need to do. You need to focus on search engine optimization. Whether you like it or not, you need a Facebook page and you need a Twitter account. You need a YouTube channel. Obviously, you need a website. You need good landing pages. You need somebody who can design those things for you. Branding is important. Community service and sponsorship are really important too. The third thing that goes along with our sales technique and campaign here is things have changed in the last, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years. From a telemarketing culture to lead generation culture to an on-the-spot culture. You know, back in the olden days, we used to generate leads and go do what we call the lawn inspection report. We'd go out there and we'd write, your lawn is made up of ryegrass, bluegrass, and fescue. I see some dandelions. You've got some bare spots. You should fertilize. Everybody knows that already. Those days are gone. How often do you go and sit down, and now I'm not talking about, you know, a $50,000 construction project, I'm talking about a $400 lawn care account. You seldom sit down with the homeowner and have a cup of coffee and talk about how things are going to get done. It has to be on demand, and we've struggled in this industry a little bit to make that happen. People want real-time information. They want it fast. You have to be able to close that sale on the phone, which means you have to be available all the time. I've got this water heater guy here, and this is an analogy I stole directly from Joe Cusick, who I'm sure stole it from somebody else, but I'm going to use it. So say your water heater breaks on a Friday afternoon. So you have no hot water. You start calling plumbers, or you start calling hot water guys. One guy says, yeah, I can come out and give you an estimate. I'll be there in 2 days. One guy says, yeah, I can give you an estimate. I don't know when I'm going to get there. One guy says, I can come out and fix it tonight. It's going to cost you an extra $100. Who are you going to hire? You're going to hire the guy who's going to be there tonight, almost 100% of the time. You have to apply that to lawn care. You have to understand that people want information and they want it now. They don't want to wait. So when somebody calls based on some marketing that you did, say it's a direct mail piece or any sort of marketing, a referral, you need to find a way to, when they're on the telephone, provide them with an estimate while you have them on the phone. And you need to make that sale while they're on the phone with you. Part of that is just answering the phone. And I know we struggle with that. But if you're gonna make a run at something like $1 million, somebody's got to answer the phone all the time. You know, even from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. At the very least, 9 to 5. The second step here is something that we seldom put a lot of effort in, and I'm telling you right now, it is the second most important part of growing your business, growing your lawn care business, the renewal. And how many of you guys actually do a renewal campaign, a real renewal campaign? A legitimate a renewal campaign that you put a lot of work into? Probably not everybody. I know a lot of you guys will do something, but not everybody does what I think you need to do in order to be able to grow your business. The renewal package serves two very distinct purposes. The first one is exactly what it sounds like. It's to get your existing customers to make a written, verbal, or emotional commitment to use your service again next year. If you can get your customers to simply agree, whether it's verbally or in writing, that they'll use your service next year, almost 100% of the time they'll keep their word, and that's a good thing. They'll stick with you, as long as they say they're going to. So when the True Green guy, salesperson, starts putting the heat on them, they're going to say, nope, I've already signed up with my guy that I used last year. You're going to retain your customers based on getting them just to agree to do it. You'll lose some, but most of them will stick with you. The second one's really important too. It's as important. The renewal package serves to drive prepayments. This is about cash flow, and this is about investing in your business the following year. We all worry about off-season cash flow. If you can pull off a successful prepayment campaign, it quite honestly can create a scenario where November and December are your best months of cash in the door. And that's really, really different than what people think. You can have the most cash come through the door in your worst production months of the year. Not only does this help you pay the bills and pay the paychecks and salaries, it helps you put money into marketing. That's what this is all about. This is about being able to generate some cash to create marketing campaigns for the following year, and that helps you grow your business. There should be 3 attempts to renew your service. 1, you should leave the package with the final application of the year. 2, you should send a renewal package through the mail. And 3, you should make a phone call alongside an electronic renewal package. And at bsafe, what we do is we use My Lawn Quote to send that electronic renewal package, and we follow it up with a phone call. I'm not going to give you an example because I'm already long-winded and late here, but you need a written letter and a package. Basically, it's a bill. It's a prepayment bill, and you need to promote prepayments. If anybody wants to talk about a renewal campaign beyond just this, I would love to talk to you about it. We can help you generate some serious cash over the course of the off-season. So let's move on to green is the new green. That's the second part we're talking about here. So we've just built $1 million business. We've been at this now for 38 minutes. I'm way late already. Hopefully you can stick with me. We've got a structure, we've got a plan, we've got our marketing in place, we're going to run a good business. What do we capitalize on now? Green is the new green. And I want to mention a couple of notable bsafe customers here because it kind of proves it. Over the last couple of years, bsafe and our alternative lawn care program has brought on Harvard University, which converted the entire care of the campus to organic a long time ago. They use our products now. Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida use our products. They use our program literally from everything they do is based on a program we built for them. Hadlock Field up in Portland, Maine, which is what these pictures are from. Hadlock Field is a AA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox. They are the only, as far as I can tell, professional baseball stadium in the country that is completely organic. And as you can see by these pictures, it looks okay. We're not doing too bad. We worked hard on that this year. So the trend is going in that direction in a big way. It's not just sort of like, hippies. And that's what this demographic is about. No longer is the demographic just about the crunchy millennials or kids. The young college kids who, get mad when you don't recycle a can. The alternative or reduced pesticide approach is for every single person who wants to have a nice lawn. You don't want to market only to the niche. You got to invite everybody to the party. I say it all the time. You need to market to everybody who has a lawn. You can make it work with the products, with alternative products, and you can create nice lawns from this girl over here who's working for the Green Alliance to the people who are shopping at Whole Foods to this guy in the middle, and everybody has this guy. Everybody has one of these guys. You can work with everybody. Don't just market to the niche. Why aren't the national brands doing something about this? True Green, Scott's, Weedman, Lawn Doctor. Why haven't they addressed this yet? What's up with this industry? Why haven't the big players in the industry jumped all over organics? How can we help you capitalize on that? The big guys, True Green, Scott's, Lawn Doctor, Weedman, Spring Green. These are the top 5 lawn care companies in the country. None of them really offer a truly organic lawn care program. I wonder why that is. Does anybody want to hazard a guess? I'm not going to let you because I got to get going here, but the dinosaurs versus bsafe. It's very difficult for a company that's been around for a long time and has used a chemical lawn care approach to switch what they're doing. They can't just make a complete 360. Basically what they're doing is they're incriminating themselves, and they're very cognizant of that. If all of a sudden they say, oh yeah, we're going to do it this way now, isn't that saying the way that they've done it forever is wrong? And they don't want to go down that road. So I like to think of them as dinosaurs. It's kind of a goofy slide. How do you stand out? We talk about the purple cow. I just heard somebody out in our room here talking to one of you guys who's on the phone right now about the purple cow. How do you rapidly grow and set your business apart if you offer the same exact service as everybody else? We know that what's in the back of the True Green truck and the Lawn Doctor and Spring Green and everybody else, it's the same stuff. It's literally the same exact stuff, bought from the same exact people. It's no different. So the key is to differentiate yourself. Has everybody heard of the purple cow deal before? It's a Seth Godin concept, he's a modern marketer. You can drive by cows all day long, and you don't even notice them. If you drive by cows and there's a purple cow there, what do? You say, holy, wow, that's a purple cow, and you talk about it. So you have to stand out. You have to set yourself apart. You have to be different among your competition. Make your customers stand up and take notice. Be the trendsetter. Be the purple cow. Be the one people are talking about. Do it differently. That's going to expedite your growth in a big way. How do you do it? And this is where I'm going to kind of transfer a little bit into how bsafe can help you kind of implement some of the things we just talked about. bsafe is a network. The bsafe Lawn Care Network is a group of companies. Right now, we're in the 70s. We've got, I think, almost 80 locations throughout the country. It's a group of companies that are working, really doing the same exact thing. It's a cooperative or a collaborative. It's a unified brand on a national basis that are implementing pesticide-free, organic, or alternative lawn care programs to their existing and future and potential customers. What we do is we offer you the products to be able to implement an organic program. And I'm not even going to go into that right now because I could spend 3 days talking about it. But if any of you have implemented or attempted to implement an organic program in the past, a lot of times you probably didn't do so well with it because it's pretty complicated. Organics is based on science, not on soybeans. It's all about soil biology. And we have a line of products. I think we have more than 25 products or so. I don't know exactly how many. That when you come on as a member of the network, we work with you specifically to put together a program, a plan for you to treat your customers with those products. Not all 20, but we whittle it down to the ones that matter. So if you're doing a 6-application program, we're going to put together the products that you need to apply to your customers' lawns. It goes back to that fire belly approach where we simplified it for the consumer. We want to simplify it for you. You can go out and try to figure it out, and most of us, or you have tried to, and it's tricky. Everything is based on soil biology. All of our products have active species and strains of soil-improving microorganisms. They help us reduce inputs. They help us reduce nitrogen. We use less pesticides. And it works. We've been at it for 3 years, and we're doing well with it. It absolutely works, which is why we give you a protected territory. We want you to be different in that area. As a member of the network, we give you an area where only you can apply the bsafe products. We don't sell the products to people outside of the network. You're not going to walk into John Deere and buy some of our products. We only sell them to members of the network, and members of the network have a protected territory where they are the only one selling and offering the bsafe program. When you join the network, we're going to give you a kickstart marketing package. We'll go into that in a minute. Marketing materials, branding, website, My Lawn Quote, the Organic Lawn Care Institute. The protected territory is up to 125,000 owner-occupied households. Sometimes companies will protect more depending on how big they are. When we asked all of our existing applicators what the #1 reason they joined the network was, it was to have a unique niche in their protected territory. That is by far the most important part of joining the network, protecting a territory. And almost all of them do. The Kickstart package is we've got a relationship with Andrew Potoshnik at Lawn Care Marketing Expert. You've absolutely heard of him. If you haven't, check him out. He is a lawn care marketing expert. And we're going to hook you up with him. He's going to do what he calls a marketing makeover with you. He's going to teach you how you can implement a plan every single month, how to train you to position and sell services all the time, those upsells we were talking about. He's going to put together videos for you. He's really going to be helpful. We've got a great relationship with him, and he's going to help you grow your business. He's going to help you get to $1 million. We're working on a centralized marketing strategy right now. What we've realized, and I love this quote, I've used it all the time now. Mike Riley, who's a member of the network, said, "Wars are won with strategic planning and power in numbers." If you're out by yourself trying to get an estimate to do a direct mail campaign, it's going to be a heck of a lot more expensive than if you're with us and there's 80 of us trying to centralize a campaign. We can drive costs down. And I realized this more than ever at the GIE this year, Green Industry Expo, where people were trying to sell to me more than I was trying to sell to people. We've got power and numbers, and we're putting together a centralized campaign for you to implement with direct mail. We've got a pay-per-click thing going on. That list creation we were talking about, that's huge, and we're going to help you do that. We're going to reduce your costs. That's all a part of growing. The less it costs to grow, the more you can grow in the future. Marketing materials, the estimate forms and brochures and truck wraps, direct mail, door hangers, all that kind of stuff. The branding. You're the only one who can use the brand in your territory. Truck wraps, billboards, postcards, brochures, websites, flyers, door hangers. We build a website for you. You need a good website. Professional website with good SEO. Lead capture, you get to use the My Lawn Quote program, which, how am I doing on time here? You guys might want to check this out. Once you become a member of the network, this is all about what I talked about, making sales quick. You want to be able to make sales fast. Sometimes we want to actually even take the 2 steps that we've got in there out altogether. And when you become a member of the network, oh, it's not going to link for me. So we're going to list you on the site here. Customer's going to find you. They're going to plug in their zip code. We've got a program in place to promote the website and the brand to consumers all across the country. They find you based on their zip code. They can get an actual estimate instantly. They put in their address. I'm doing this really fast, by the way. This is a lead capture device, first of all. They're going to be able to, as soon as somebody clicks on it, they're going to submit their information. It's going to bring them to a satellite image of their property, and they're going to be able to do their own estimate. How cool is that? Not only have you captured their information, but based on this satellite imagery, and I know I'm late, so I'm going fast. I always go to this because there's a football field, and it's easy to do. Some proprietary measuring tool here. They get a square footage. And they're going to generate an estimate, make a sale all by themselves. So not only have we taken the steps out of it, they can make sales. You can make sales 24 hours a day based on people finding you there. You get to come to the Organic Lawn Care Institute. As I said earlier, the Organic Lawn Care Institute is it's licensed by the state of New Hampshire, Department of Education. It's a career school licensed as a post-secondary vocational school with a primary purpose of educating individuals for a professional career. It's approved by the state of New Hampshire, so on and so forth. I'd like to finish up with a quote that I think is pretty cool. It's a quote from a guy named Drew Houston, who is the CEO of Dropbox, which is a service that I use and lots of other people use. But when he was giving his commencement speech at MIT, he said, "Work on what you love, but that's not really it. When I think about the happiest and most successful people I know, they don't just love what they do, they're obsessed with solving something that matters to them." And I think that's important in the lawn care industry because many of us, all of us, have chosen to be in this industry. We make our living, our family works in this business, and at times it can get a little bit tedious. I'm not speaking out of school when I tell you that. You've got the opportunity to do something different, than the industry has ever done before. And if you can harness that power, it's going to help you grow your business. If you guys want to continue along in the process, you can contact us here. I've lost my my console, my GoToMeeting console, so I'm going to try to get it back. Here we go. And answer the questions. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer? There's a whole bunch there. Hang on one second, guys. Lots of questions here. Is there anything I can answer? Hang on one second. I don't know what's going on with my screen here. Here we go. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I lost you for a minute. Actually, there was a minute there where I thought you were disconnected. So there was a little bit of panic, and if there was a little bit of panic in my voice there towards the end, that was why, because all of a sudden everything went blank on my screen. So as you can tell, our webinar is live today. Sometimes at the beginning I say, this is not a recorded webinar, this is a live webinar. So I got a ton of questions here, and I encourage you to type them in, because as I said, I'd be happy to spend as much time answering questions as you'd like to. If you'd like to sign off now, that's fine too. I'm going to go all the way through here and put this contact information back up on the screen, so that if you'd like to give us a call and you've got some questions, or you want to talk to somebody about potentially joining the network, I want that contact information up there for you. And before I get answer the questions, there we go. So you can talk to me at that number, or you can talk to Dick, who's the Director of Dealer Development, at that number as well. There's our website. If you want to look at existing applicators in the network, I think this is pretty updated. If you go to that zip code finder at bsafelawns.com and you type all into that, you'll get a list of every applicator in the network. And sometimes that's helpful to make sure that your area isn't protected. So let me go into the questions here and kind of knock them off one at a time. What do we use for setup, for equipment? All of our products, and this is going to knock down a couple other questions, they're liquid. One thing that we've been able to do in terms of cost with organics, and we've reduced the cost of organics to a fraction of what it once was. You're not out there putting down 10 pounds per thousand of corn gluten all day long. They are liquid foliar concentrates, and the reason they're liquid is because they actually are biologically enhanced. So all of the products are going to contain bacteria and fungi, and for a lot of reasons. That's the whole trick. We want to amplify soil biology. Those microorganisms are going to help us reduce our inputs. They're going to use nitrogen more efficiently. So the products are liquid. So what we use is a typical, basic skid sprayer. Most of our guys operate a 200-gallon tank. We've got a great relationship with a company called Gregson Clark. That if you need to buy a tank, I send you directly to them. We don't have an agreement with them. You're going to buy direct from them if you're interested. Just a typical 200-gallon spray tank where you use what they call a Chemlon gun from the olden days and spray the product, spray the liquid at about 1.5 gallons per 1,000 square feet. That's finished product. Most of the concentrates are in the neighborhood of 7-8 ounces per 1,000 square feet. So they are liquid products. A couple other questions. Good question about California. We don't have anybody in California, and that's interesting, Michael. It's funny because we've never had a lot of interest from California, and I've never been able to put my finger on it. Everybody always automatically assumes that California is the place to be. I mean, obviously, there's a difference between Northern and Southern California, but the lifestyle is a little bit different, in terms of environmentalism and reduction of pesticides. We don't have anybody in California. You certainly don't have a seasonal issue, meaning that you're going to be able to go all year round if you're in the southern part of the state. We've got a program, for every part of the country. What I guess I would ask you, and I got some other questions to get to, but I don't mind talking about this particular because it will answer some of those questions. What types of turf are you dealing with, and what type of soil? Are you in Southern California? Are you dealing with Bermuda grass? Are you up north? Is it different? Bermuda grass is probably one of the most difficult turf types to transition, only because it requires a lot more nitrogen than any other turf type. So we need to really ramp that up. Sometimes you will put down an application or two of a granular product to deal with the short-term nitrogen requirements. and granular applications fit nicely into the program when you want that extra boost. So tall fescue lawns are not difficult. Nope. Turf-type tall fescue has a nitrogen requirement, about 3 pounds of nitrogen per year. We put together a program specifically for you, and we can make it work. We don't have anybody in Southern California, but I'm trying to think of the most likely or similar climate. I want to say Texas, but that's probably not the case. We've got a couple guys in Texas. I'd work with you directly, Michael. We talk about a lot of different things and figure out what makes the most sense for you to be able to implement. And we put together a good program for you. I don't think that there's any turf type or soil type that we can't get. We can't take care of. And Michael went on to mention that there are a lot of municipalities. Trust me, that's one of our biggest markets, especially in states like New York State, Connecticut. Lots of different states and even counties in some localities have made it illegal to use pesticides, generally where children congregate is how they put it. So it's a huge market for us. I do one of the segments I do at training is exactly what you're asking. How do we sell the program to municipalities? If you want to look into it or you want to talk to somebody a little bit more closely, a guy named Dave Malevsky, who is one of our applicators in Maine, Scarborough, Maine, implemented a complete ban on pesticides on public property, and it helped him get a $90,000 account. And we've been maintaining that for 2 years, and that was really a business-changing account for him. And the grass looks nice. So it's sort of a longer process to talk about how to market to them. But there's other things going on. Wisconsin just had a law go live today or yesterday that creates a pesticide registry. So if homeowners want to be placed on a registry that makes them, gives them pre-notification from any company applying pesticides, it's law now. It's popping up all over the place. That's why we think we're ahead of the curve, and I think we're going to be able to capitalize on it. Let me scroll around on some of these questions. Are there competitors in organics? A lot of people always ask us that question, and it's kind of interesting in that I don't want to say there aren't any competitors, but in regards to what we do, there's not a national presence. It's not a national company offering an organic lawn care program. A lot of times people say Natural Lawn, but Natural Lawn isn't an organic lawn care company. That's their name, and they don't make any bones about it. In terms of your market, you might want to look. Lots of companies pop up all the time and call themselves organic lawn care services, and they struggle a lot of times because they're just applying granular products that don't work very well. And that's another whole training sort of segment that I do. There's reasons why they don't work as well. So in your particular area, Mark, I'd look, but on a national basis, there really isn't a unified approach or brand offering organics, and we like that. We love it. It's gonna help us grow. Whenever True Green or one of the other companies adds organics, and they all have a program, they don't try to sell it, but we don't get scared. We don't get nervous of competition. We always say, the more they acknowledge it, the better we do. The whole rising tide deal, and the more the bigger companies offer it, we know we can do it better. They're just going to help drive the market. What else we got here? A couple questions about cost. Good question. Cost, there is a cost to join the network. The cost is $14,900, and that kind of changes based on some variables depending on the size of your territory, but that's kind of where it starts. There's ways to pay for it. There's financing. It can right now Dick's doing a couple of different specials to make it easier for you. But it starts at $14,900. The products themselves, in order to be able to implement the program, I always say are roughly $2 per 1,000 square feet. Sometimes they're more, sometimes they're less, but on average it's going to cost about $2 per 1,000, which is more than your chemical program, but not a lot more. And you're always going to charge a little bit more. People, when you go to the store, the organic tomato costs more than the regular tomato. People expect to pay a little bit more, and we take advantage of that. You're gonna drive up your margin. I'm officially over an hour, guys, so I'm going to keep answering some of these questions, but for those of you who need to jump off, don't worry about it. Obviously, I know you're busy and you got lots to do. A couple questions about weed control, insect control. There is a product in our program for every issue you're going to come across. Every challenge that you come across in your traditional program, we've got a tool in the toolbox for. So where there's multiple weed controls, a product called Fiesta, which is a chelated iron, a product called Adios. We have a liquid corn gluten. There's something for everything. And we're not against rescue treatment either. If you've got a customer who's really upset about weeds and you want to use a chemical application, you just have to maintain that integrity and honesty with your customer. And lots of our applicators, we'll take 2 steps backwards or take 1 step backwards and take 2 steps forward. You know what I mean? It's we're not advocates to the point where we say you'll never use another chemical lawn care treatment ever again. You need to do what your customers ask you to do. It's all about growing your business that way. I think I've managed to answer all the questions, guys. If you want to continue on in the process, please contact us. We're going to set you up with access to a proprietary website that's got more information that might answer some of your questions about what we do and the products that we sell and the program that we put together. A couple questions popping up. How many guys can come to training? Mark, it kind of depends on the time of year. We always say you can bring as many as you want. This is really busy for us this time of year. Because it's the off season for you guys. Most people bring themselves an office person and maybe a key guy, so 3 guys. If you need to bring more, just talk to us and you can bring more. You're always welcome to come back anytime. We do trainings throughout the course of the year. Lots of times our applicators come back for a refresher, or if they want to send a new employee or a new office manager or a salesperson, you can come back anytime. It's part of the deal. It's not, we don't charge you for it or anything like that. So usually 3 is on average, more or less. Just check with us and it should be fine. It's not a problem. The training's really cool, by the way. A couple other questions about training. It's a 3-day training and we cover a lot of stuff. Nobody's ever walked away from the training and said, wow, that was a waste of my time. We bring on, I don't know if you know Chip Osborne. He's a real well-known educator in organic agriculture. He does a full day. We do a lot of operational stuff, marketing stuff, business stuff. It usually goes really, really well. People always leave very excited, and we have a good time. What happens when you put a bunch of lawn guys in one room? Sometimes it gets scary, but, it's fun. And the answer to your question, Mark, is yes. Yep. Question, is financing available? Yes. And you're going to want to talk to either Dick or Jeff or Scott, whoever you kind of, if you talk to somebody leading up to this, they'll be able to tell you how to make it work. And we can do a lot of things. All right. Guys, I've taken up enough of your time. I'm going to wrap it up. I've lost a lot of you already, and that's okay too. So give us a call if you want to continue on in the process. If you have any other questions, we're always here and available. Please feel free to contact us, and we'd love to see you at our next training. We've got one coming up at the beginning part of December. It's almost full, but I think there's a couple spaces left, so we'd love to see you there. Thanks, guys.